A famous old piece of advice tells us that in your 20s and 30s, you worry about what other people are thinking of you. In your 40s and 50s, you stop worrying about what they were thinking about you. And in your 60s and 70s, you realise that they were never thinking about you in the first place. Research shows that our self-esteem increases as we go through our lives. But what does this mean for our levels of social anxiety? Hey there, I'm Neil and I struggled with social anxiety for more than 2 decades. On this channel, every week, I'll be bringing you the best methods and strategies that I've used in my own life to feel more confident. In her book, How to Be Yourself, Ellen Hendrickson said that social anxiety declines with age as we naturally care less about what other people think of us. Research backs this up and says that in general, as we get older, we feel more self-assured and content. People in their 60s tend to be happier overall, and according to a recent study, they tend to be more self-assured than younger people. People in their 20s and 30s tend to suffer from higher levels of depression, anxiety, and stress, and they also experience lower levels of happiness. A 2018 study found that self-confidence tends to peak at around the age of 60, which is likely due to a more stable environment. There are 2 main reasons that people may experience lower levels of social anxiety as they grow older. The first being the way that the brain is wired. It could be that our brains are wired for less negative emotional responses the more we age. A 2004 brain imaging study found that older participants displayed less reaction in their amygdala, which is the part of the brain linked with stress and emotional responses, when they were displayed a series of negative images. This could be because as you grow older, your automatic response to negative emotional stimuli may become more subdued. The second reason is self-esteem. This is how you see yourself and feel about yourself based upon your judgments of the different parts of who you are. It's a term for how we perceive and value ourselves. If we have low self-esteem, then we can see ourselves as worthless and unimportant. Your self-esteem will have a large impact on how you compare yourself to others. One way of looking at it could be that you see everybody as being equal in value. If, on the other hand, your emotional brain is in control, then you may see everybody as having different levels of looks, power, and possessions. You'll see this as being very important, which means you'll constantly be comparing yourself to others, and if you don't end up getting what you want, then it can lead you feeling very disheartened. Often self-esteem is accompanied by self-criticism, and if you have low levels of self-esteem, then it's likely that you have a lot of negative thoughts where you're constantly judging yourself and comparing yourself to others. The way you compare yourself to other people will have a large impact on your overall levels of happiness. If we have low levels of self-esteem, we may feel negatively about ourselves and lack confidence. We may feel so unlovable that we find it hard to even love ourselves. The inner critic is what drives low levels of self-esteem. This is the voice in our heads that is constantly evaluating our performance and judging us negatively for anything small that we may do wrong. And we've probably become so accustomed to this extreme level of negativity that we may not even be aware that we're doing it. This critical voice tells us that nobody likes us and causes a great deal of social anxiety. It stops us from going out and enjoying ourselves and increases our anxiety in a vicious cycle. When we listen to this critical voice and believe everything that it tells us, we feel too vulnerable to face the world, and our self-esteem continues to suffer as a result. If our core beliefs continue to fuel our low levels of self-esteem, we'll struggle to recover from the negative thought cycle because we lack resilience. This can cause us to spiral into toxic shame and negativity. This leads people to avoid social situations, new environments, and a general level of social disconnectedness, which leads to greater rates of social anxiety. Studies show that social connectedness is strongly related to levels of self-esteem. People with high self-esteem can see their own worth, even when they make mistakes. Research indicates that our self-esteem rises during early and middle childhood, staying steady during adolescence, and then we experience sharp increases in our 20s going into our 30s as well, and then continues to increase into middle adulthood. And then it's around the age of 60 that our self-esteem peaks. The research shows that there is a strong correlation between low levels of self-esteem and social anxiety, and that having low levels of self-esteem leads to increased rates in general of social anxiety. Low levels of self-esteem can mean that someone struggles to adjust to new social situation and makes people even more sensitive to rejection from others, and this will likely increase an individual's level of social anxiety. It can, however, be an overgeneralization to say that your anxiety in social situations is caused by low self-esteem, because there can certainly be other factors that cause it as well, and just because somebody has low self-esteem doesn't necessarily mean that they struggle with social anxiety. I've been to and hosted many social anxiety groups myself in the past and continue to do so, and I've found lots of people over the age of 40, 50 and even 60 that struggle with social anxiety. So just because your self-esteem may in general increase as you get older, it doesn't mean that you won't have social anxiety anymore. I've been to Toastmasters groups as well in the past, and there have been people in their 60s that have had a real fear of public speaking, and in online forums as well there are lots of people that are much older that say they still have social anxiety. So self-esteem increasing is not necessarily the be-all and end-all of having social anxiety. The real changes that I've seen in my own life have only ever come when I've deliberately taken action to make things better. I've never found that by getting older I've felt more confident. If anything, I'd say it's the opposite. I actually feel more on edge the older I get, so maybe that goes against the trend, but having said that, I'm not 60 years old yet, but who knows. I'd rather not wait another 3 or 4 decades until I'm in my 60s and 70s and hope that social anxiety goes away by its own. I'd rather take action now while I still can and actually try and live the life that I want to live. I would say that it is possible to get better and that you do not have to wait until you get a lot older and hope that time heals the wounds that were created for you. If you enjoyed this video and you want to watch more, then check out my next one where I'll be talking about why social anxiety is not a life sentence and some of the things you can start to do to get better. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this content valuable, then please hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.